everyone's safe out there and healthy and doing well. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays with Dr. FineGrit, also known as Darren Jones. You have Michaela here. I'm the event coordinator with Iconics. We're very happy to have you. And we're going to turn this over to a video that me and Darren recorded the other day to show you how to sand carve halftone images on Granite. Darren, you want to say a little hello to everyone out there? And
hello, aloha, guten morgen. Just wanted to welcome all of you to Wisdom Wednesday. I've been looking forward to this day for some time. A lot of the times over the years, I've seen people face-to-face at trade shows, at one of the seminars that I've taught, maybe visiting your home or your business for some training. So this is a little new for me and a little new for Michaela and the whole crew, but we're excited to offer tips and tricks over the web. And, the big thing with me is I've always been an interactive, person working with my customers. So share any ideas, any questions, don't bother me at all. If you know me throughout the industry, there's no stupid questions. They're all good ones. So with that, I think we'll carry on to our little video that me and Michaela made the other day, and hopefully we'll have a lot of questions because I got a lot of answers, and we'll go from there.
All right. Enjoy. Sounds good. Bear with us a second.
Welcome back, everyone, to the next edition of Dr. FineGrit, Wisdom Wednesdays. I'm here to present to you some new products that you haven't seen before on my YouTube channel. So I wanted to show you a few new techniques and tricks. What I want to show you today is the Rapid Mask 4mm material. It is our thickest dry film process. This allows you to carve deep into stone, like I'll be showing you here later, but also gives you really fine detail to do halftones on stone. So you're not limited to just depth, you can do detail. All right, so that's a 4mm Rapid Mask called high tack. The name was given because it's higher tack or higher glue quality. All right, so here's the halftone I want to be presenting to you today. It's a 35 dpi image, which will be translated to this black granite. The beauty of Rapid Mask is you're going to be using a photo positive. So whatever you see black in your design is how it's going to look on the stone if it's black. Okay, so like this black piece of granite, it's going to look exactly like your artwork. Very easy to, translate that for people. Beginners, intermediate, advanced. So it's a really easy task to use high tack on a piece of black granite, black glass, clear glass as well. Just black represents. So those are the tasks at hand today with the high tack material. What I want to show you briefly is just the film process as a review. Since it's a little bit thicker than our last episode, which was 2mm, the exposure and the application might be slightly different. So what I'm going to do is put the glossy side down. Remember before, the dull side face up, take the ink side face down, and take your halftone, because we're going to do 4mm for the halftone and the deep carving. We'll put that on top. So we're going to place both on the same mask. So we're doing the halftone on black granite, and we're doing the stage carving on really thick glass cubes. So we're going to set the time 2.5 minutes. 2 minutes with a new light bulb. You just want to make sure the film gets brittle so it blasts really clean and fast. So once this is done exposed, I'll apply the mask and we'll start doing the rest. Okay, while our Rapid Mask 4mm film is exposing, we got a minute or two to talk about printers. These are two printers that we recommend. A lot of you might be familiar with the Epson 1430 artesian model. This one was very popular for several years until they discontinued it. That was very uncalled for, but we have no control in that, right? But we found a model that's even better. It's called the Epson SureColor P400. It's a replacement for the 1430. And this one actually can accept rolls of film, which are 13 inch by 100 feet, or you can do sheets up to 13 inches wide. You also have more color cartridges in there, and you can go all black. So you don't have any color at all. You can just do black only, which is going to save you a lot of money on ink overall. What I also want to show you are the different transparencies you can put in your Epson P400 printer or other printers. This one here is a halftone. And what I want to show you here is the ink density difference. So if I printed these with the P400 and then I had another sample from a HP or a Canon or another line, this is how I can tell the difference. What I do is I actually draw my initials right over the black. Now, if I hold it up to the light and I see my initials, that means my toner or my ink isn't really dark. All right. So here's an example. This is a laser printer film. And if I write my initials anywhere in here, now if you hold it up, you can see the initials a lot more. And that's because the toner isn't as dark as it can be. All right. So just a little thing to do on your own if you're curious. Same thing goes for halftones. You want a nice dense black. So I usually use a Sharpie marker. That's a good way to test your density. This is where you want to be as far as your density level, kind of a goal. That way you get better detail capability, longer lasting positives or negatives, and kind of fun too, kind of play around. So that's the transparencies and how to check for density and the Epson P400. Okay, so the film comes out of your exposure unit looking like this. The dark area is going to blast. The green is going to stay as your resist. The trick to get the slip sheet off is grab a piece of tape, grab the edge, and peel. Set that aside for later. Then what you're going to do is apply your stencil. Now, this is still repositionable film, even though it's high tack. So I can still move it around on my Granite if I got it on there incorrectly. So what I'm going to do is stick it down, grab my squeegee, start in the center, work away to the edge. Center to the edge. All right, here's our final reveal. The black Granite with the 4mm wrap mask film in a halftone. Now, there's a few ways to remove the film, and this is the best part, right? We're getting to the end of our roller coaster. So what we're gonna do, there's a few tricks to get the film off, because keep in mind, most people that do black Granite are doing larger scale. Okay, they're not able to put the item in water to soak it. They're not. Some do a variety of things like put a wet towel on there to get it off. But here's a couple other tricks. Companies like I know that do this. They'll put duct tape and they'll squeegee it down. This is masking tape, of course, but if it's duct tape, it's going to be stickier. I'll put a couple strips across, and then you basically just rip it off, and it reveals the halftone. So you're basically pulling it back, so you kind of see what you started with. So it's kind of a neat little reveal. Okay. The other method is more popular. Is they'll take like a scraper blade. This is just a tiny little one at a craft shop, but you can use wider ones like a paint scraper. They come in like 6-inch wide and a variety of different widths. So you can do that. You're not going to hurt anything in your design because the blade is wider than my dot is wide. So even if I went like this, I'm not going to be able to scratch it. Okay, because the blade's too big. So this is a really good way to get the film off quick and then have it all off. Another trick too, when you remove any film off your substrate, especially glass, where it's apt to scratch at times, especially with a very sharp razor blade, if you're going to use that method to remove the mask, is the shaving technique. And it's a glass cleaner, but it looks like shaving cream to me. Okay, just like put shaving cream on your skin before you shave, same thing applies here. If you want to eliminate having that issue with any scratches or any kind of damage from your blade, just remove the mask like you would like this. So if I'm out here, even outside the area, if I was on glass, let's say, imagine I have a film on here, I'm not going to scratch my glass because it's like shaving cream. Okay, it's not going to scratch as long as you have a wet surface, like this glass cleaner or shaving cream, whatever you have handy. So just another tip to show all of you. to make it simpler to remove a stencil on a larger format scale, or maybe on glass where you don't want it to scratch by mistake. Because you made a beautiful design. I hate to see it get wasted at the last step. All right, so here's our wrap mask high-tech film on a piece of black granite. It's all ready and prepped for sandblasting. Trick here is have the artwork handy, because when you put any film on a dark surface, it's kind of hard to tell where the buildings are, where the birds are, and whatnot. So here's a little trick for that. Take your piece of artwork and tape it right on your window. Okay? And then when you put your piece in the machine, then you have an idea of where everything is. So generally speaking, with halftones, I like to start in the darker areas on the artwork. So I'll start like the lower area instead of right in the sky. And I'll explain why here as I start sandblasting. So in our machines, we have all LED lights. So it does help to see. You can kind of see the image in there with the LED lights nowadays. Another trick is when you start it out, just kind of put a little dust on there, and you'll see the dust kind of stick to the green. So that's another way to tell where your image is if you don't have the artwork handy, right? So see how I put a little dusting on there, you can see it kind of stick to the green, and then the dark brittle area is not adhering to. So that's another little trick to tell where your image is on your design. So again, like I mentioned, you're going to start in a dark area, which is the lower left, and we are blasting at 35 psi, because this is a 4 mil thick material. So I can go a little bit higher on my pressure. So when I go hit that, you can start getting blasted right off the bat, one pass. So I'm going to just do this little corner here to start. So the camera can get in there nice and close so you can see what I've done thus far. Another thing you'll notice in the camera perhaps is the flashlight effect. That's what silicon carbide does when it hits a hard surface like stone. It sparks, creates a little firework or a little flashlight on the mask. Okay, so that way you know you're blasting at all times. So we'll continue on with the flashlight. Moving forward, you can start, when I get to the letter, you can really see it move fast. That's what I was saying. You gotta take a little eyeball to look and follow what's going out slower or what's faster. So here you get to the white again, it goes by a lot faster, I'm moving alpha quicker. So it goes out really quick like that. So again, keep following it like you're walking up and down the cornfields, going row by row, slightly overlapping the previous pass. Okay, I'll stop there to show you. So the bottom half is completed. Okay, I just got the top. So I'm going to hit that same way as I hit the bottom. I'm going to go one more pass. Rule of thumb in blasting halftones is 1 square inch per second. So that way it's a good way to time out your blasting speed so you can price your jobs accordingly. So if you're doing like a 5x7, it should technically take you 30 seconds to a minute max.
Darren, do you want to tell these folks what the ideal DPI is for a halftone photo?
Great question, Michaela. The DPI levels will vary depending on what you're blasting. Stone, I like to blast between 35 and 52. A lot of my larger stone companies that do have stones on large granite, that's what they generally stick to as well. The bigger the dot, the deeper you can blast. So if I really want a deep etch to get more color in there, or to last longer outdoors, then I'll do a 35. If I'm putting the item inside and want more higher detail, what people are going to put their noses right up to it and inspect it, in that case I'd go with a 52 or 55 DPI. So it mostly depends on where it's going. Outdoor, lower DPI, indoors, higher DPI. So there's our completed halftone right there. Now the next step is removing the mask, and then we have a ready-made halftone on black granite.
So everyone, Darren has just finished his final granite piece here. beautiful halftone. He did a great job on that. Thanks for joining us today. Darren, did you want to talk about what's going to be in your next episode?
Yeah, thank you, Michaela. I had a pleasure showing all of you halftones on black granite, but now I want to move forward to slate and some other stone product that a lot of you are familiar with. Slate's a very common product for coasters, signage, just about anything, right? The beauty of slate is it's very easy to get depth. It flakes off, so you go really deep very quickly. So it's similar like marble and glass to my expertise on blasting speed. So I'm looking forward to showing you the MMHD 6mm film on the slate next week. And what I want to kind of cover as well with that is our next event on May 1st. It'll be a Blazer laser carve digital workshop with Trotec and Iconics Imaging. Looking forward to the joint event with Trotec. We have a great relationship, great products. It's going to be on our website at iconicsimaging.com, World Wide Web, iconicsimaging.com with Blazer Orange as the feature product. And we're looking forward to showing you how lasers and sandblasters complement each other, and hopefully have some fun.
All right, thanks, guys. I apologize for any technical difficulties there. I'm sure you seen our mugs the whole time during that video, so we're all kind of wearing new hats around here, and I definitely I'm not a great videographer, let alone running live sessions like this. But thanks for bearing with us, anyways. So yeah, let's go to the live Q&A here. Does anyone have any questions out there for Dr. FineGrit? Darren, do you have any notes or any special comments that you wanted to add after that video?
Yeah, actually, one of the topics that I do get frequent questions on, and it's not really covered too much in videos, is how to create the halftone in your software program. I work with Adobe Photoshop, Corel Photo Paint, which has a half-whiz program that I like to show that a lot in the seminars I teach, but also a newer one called S3. So I have all three set up on my computer at the moment. So I'd be happy to cover anything in more detail on a specific photo. So again, that's Corel, Adobe, or S3. And like the name is, FineGrit, that's my specialty. I can cover any grit sizes with everyone, mixes and matches, the right marriage, so you have better success when doing fine detail. That's my specialty. So be happy to work with you on artwork. So again, if any artwork questions are out there, I'm here for you.
Sure, Darren, it looks like Peter wanted to throw out a question. He wanted to ask, when should you highlight with paint for halftones? What's your suggestion there?
That's a great question. Highlighting paint. The image is going to go outside, like on the stone that we showed previously. You might want to highlight it with a white, ultra bright paint just to make it pop, make it stick out better in the cemetery or mausoleum. So what you do there is you would sandcarve, with the 4mm or 2mm mask. It doesn't make a difference if you're color filling what film to use. And then you're going to leave the mask on, and then you're going to highlight it with a paint. Now, if the paint's going to be going outside, you want to make sure the paint's exterior. So like a lithochrome or, even any kind of oil-based enamel that would be, or for outdoor purposes, like automotive paint or even exterior paint. So yeah, highlighting a halftone makes it stick out better. Interior, if it's going in a display case, yeah, you can highlight with a red or a yellow just to make it stick out versus other halftones in the industry. As you know, when you etch with other technology, it's just a etch. There's not much color. So yeah, if you want to make your image distinguished and stick out, yeah, use, the process of sand carving to give it a textured surface. That way the paint adheres to it better, and it's going to be there a lot longer, and it's going to be more opaque, and it's going to be more durable. So yeah, highlight the halftone. And I don't know if this question was leading to this or not, but there are some tricks when you do clear glass. So I don't know if that's part of it. If I have any questions on clear glass, I can get into that as well.
Do you suggest anything for curing the paint that you would highlight a halftone with? I know that I think a lot of people ask about that as far as curing paint so that it's not going to rub off. Do you have any suggestions there?
Yeah. Well, I kind of go from experience. A lot of people in the beginning when they color fill, they're not set up with a paint booth. They can't go outside to do their spraying. So what they generally resort to is what we call rub and buff, or maybe like a Walmart brand, something you can find locally, very easy to use and anywhere. Problem with that is it's not protective in outside elements. And like you said, it may rub off or it may melt off depending on what the product is. So the way around that is to use like a matted clear coat or even a gloss clear coat to kind of brush over the paint to give it a little protective layer. That's about the best you can do, is just give it a clear coat after, if you end up using a paint that you don't recommend, but easy to use.
Sure. I know personally I use Rust-Oleum's clear coat matte spray after I've painted something, but do you have any other brand suggestions?
Yeah, Rust-Oleum is an oil-based enamel, so it's made for exterior use or interior. So it's a remarkable paint. You can find it at Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's. So it's easy to find, many colors available. The only problem with the Rust-Oleum is it's an aerosol, and it's a high volume amount of paint. So when you're doing halftone color filling, for example, when you spray your mask with that high volume of paint, there's a lot of cleanup to do and a lot of possible issues with removal. So I like to recommend more of the lower volume spray, like your Belton, Belton. It's a low volume, so it comes out in half the amount of paint volume. So you get it's hitting the etched area really well, but it's not flooding your mask, which is critical to removal. So again, Belton is the paint I recommend for interior or outdoor use instead of Rust-Oleum.
Okay, great. That's a great tip, Darren. Looks like we've got another question here from Mary. Can you explain the benefits of making halftones using rapid mask versus washout films?
Yeah, the benefits of rapid mask, it's a dry film process, so it's easily done in the comfort of your home. A lot of people are working in their den, or they're, like in my situation, I'm in my basement. So the dry film will work. Now, it doesn't take any skill level, doesn't take a whole lot of equipment. So rapid mask is ideal. All you have to do is put the printed artwork on the film, put it in one of our electrolyte units and set it for 2 minutes, and it's a completed mask. So again, that's very simple. I got 3 kids at home that 12-year-olds couldn't even make a mask with a halftone. So now, as far as the washout film, the advantage there is you're going to be creating a photo negative. All right. So you may have some benefits, as far as, the film that we have is called R3, and that's going to give you higher detail capability than any other film in the washout market. And with that, some of the customers of ours have, you have like siphon blasters, or maybe they have situations where the cabinet's not very clean. So the R3 is going to be a better application because it's a lighter etch, and it's a little easier to see on the black granite. So there's advantages to both, but again, if you're looking at complexity or the best ease of use, I'd go with the rapid mask and heartbeat.
Okay, great. It looks like we got another question here from Peter. When trying a halftone for the first time, what kind of detail should I start with?
Beginner halftones, yeah, that's a common thing. When you're doing halftones, I mentioned this all the schools I do, is do general text first, please. Do like a logo first, just to fine tune your blasting process. The next step is when you look at a beginner halftone is find images that are easier to do than others. So what that means is find images like a pet or an outdoor scene. Find images that are going to be easier in the beginning process. So the ones to kind of avoid in the beginning are like wedding photos where you have a lot of black and white in the photo, or maybe a close-up of somebody's face, where there might be glaring spots in their glasses or a shiny part of their forehead. So if you're doing halftones to start with like a dog, some kind of animal, something that's got edges, and maybe an outdoor scene, just to learn the process a little bit. DPI wise, I always recommend 35 DPI to start. The dots are bigger, easier to see when you're sand carving, and you go deeper. So if you want to do stone or glass or ceramic, you can do 35 DPI. So again, the lower the number, the bigger the dot. So that's a little bit of a curve in there, because the abrasive is the higher the number, the finer the dot. So a little bit, separation there. So 220 grit abrasive is a finer mesh than a 120, and then you have your DPI. 35 is a bigger dot than your 55. So yeah, start with 35 DPI. Maybe start, with if it's 180 grit, that's great. 150 grit, it's great with the 35.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like there's some people that don't necessarily have Gmail accounts that are emailing questions into Iconics Imaging. So somebody has asked, what is the appropriate PSI per film thickness? I'm assuming when you're blasting a halftone.
Oh yeah, that's a common question, because the photoresist film market, we have 2 mil, 3 mil, 4 mil, 5 mil, 6 mil, and 10 mil. What I found over the years is giving people a lot of rule of thumbs. And what you do there is 10 PSI per mil. That's a general way to remember. So if it's a 2 mil material, 20 PSI is an ideal target point. 4 mil material, like I did in the video, you would do up to 40 PSI, generally speaking. So that's a good rule of thumb, right? 10 PSI per mil, rule of thumb.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I think there's another question here. How far to keep nozzle away from the substrate? And what's the best angle to keep your nozzle at?
Yeah, another great question. The angle is the most important. So you want to be at 90 degrees. So if you're shooting your nozzle, let's say the Sharpie marker was my nozzle. I'm going to blast this mug here behind me. Okay. So if I'm going to blast, I want to make sure it's 90 degrees. Okay. If I blast at an angle, I'll hit the mask and lift it up. Okay. So hit it 90 degrees. That way you're putting weight on the stencil so it doesn't blow off. Okay. So that's the most important feature. The other part is the distance. So if you're looking at, actually I did have a nozzle somewhere around here, but it's probably been big. Anyway, so you want to be about 4 inches away at the minimum. 6 inches is generally the maximum distance. The shorter you are, the more impact, the smaller the bead of sand is. So if you're doing halftones, generally I like to be further away. So my flashlight is larger on my mask. So my time blasting is cut in half. So 6 inches away for halftones, 4 inches away generally for line art and detail work. Okay. And generally, the further you go away, you can also increase your pressure on your blasters. So, if you move your nozzle further away, your abrasive kind of spreads out as it goes, right? So if you increase your pressure, then it stays, in kind of in a channel for a longer period. So 4 inches away, I generally recommend a 10 PSI per mil analogy,
And then if I go further away, I usually up it. I'll go 6 inches, maybe at 30 PSI, 7. So generally speaking, it's just from personal preference, and every machine is a little different out there. So just blast it what you're comfortable with. That's kind of the way it goes. Just like driving a car. I use that analogy a lot. So what are you comfortable with? Are you the person that likes to go beyond the speed limit? I sometimes do. Just if you're busy, right? Sometimes we like to go below the speed limit. So, yeah.
Thanks, Darren.
You bet.
Personally, I'm an aggressive lead foot kind of driver, so I love testing the limits with sandcarving too.
There you go.
All right. Well,
Sandblasting's like a roller coaster. So, do you like going on those fast roller coasters or more of the slower ones? It's really the way it is. You can do it fast or slow.
Great. This goes into our next question here. What is the finest DPI halftone you've personally accomplished, Dr. FineGrit?
Wow. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. This actually is what I did when I first started with Iconics. It's my youngest daughter. She's now 12, so this was 11 years ago when I did this. This was actually a 55 DPI. So I did this somehow. I have no idea how I did it back then. But 55 DPI on a ceramic mug was pretty cool, I think. But as far as the highest DPI I've ever done, I would say it's probably 75 DPI. I did it on a Photoshop, and I did it on a piece of black granite. So I'd say 75. I know one customer of mine did an 85 DPI once, but you get into that range, your grip needs to be 240 mesh or even finer. So you're basically working with, dust. So I generally recommend below 65 for best success. Unless you have a really clean machine like we have.
It's pretty impressive. All right. So Andy wants to know,
this one here actually was done too. This was a 65 DPI.
That's a nice photo.
So
very nice. So Andy would like to know next, is there any difference in the end result of a sand carved halftone compared to a lasered picture on granite?
Yes. Great question. I don't have a laser illustration with me at the moment. Lasers do a beautiful job on black granite. You get 100 DPI or greater, so it's very fine detail. The problem, though, is the halftone process with the laser is basically just for black granite. Now, if you do a beige color or gray, any of those other color tones, the laser doesn't work without color filling. Now, with sand carving, though, you can get a lighter color on gray, a lighter contrast level, I should say, with your tan or beige or any of those other granites and stone out there. So you have more options with the sand carving. Now, as far as the differences is the depth. Now, when you laser granite, you're basically heating the surface where it microfractures. So with that, it's just a light surface edge. It's basically hitting the polished part, and that's it. It's not removing any stone material, so it's just a surface edge. Sand carving, when you go into stone, any color, again, any surface, any hard brittle surface, you can remove materials. So you're creating a depth, okay? And what that depth is a erosion insurance. So people that do exterior stone and put in a photo, especially if it's going flat on the ground, they definitely want to sand carve it. Or if it's a vertical wall that's going to be prone to a lot of wind, a lot of dust, you definitely want to sand carve it because you're going to get depth. And with the depth, you get a longer warranty because the image is going to remain longer with sand carving. A laser edge could be gone within a year, within 5 years, maybe 10 years. If it's hit with a lot of dust, wind, rain over the years, sand carving, it might be 25, 30, 50 years down the road. So a lot of my monument guys do Sandcarve halftones when the image is going outside. And that's because they can offer a longer warranty than a laser etch.
Great. That's some great knowledge there. Looks like somebody emailed in here too. Software to help with creating halftones, and they also want to know the best dot per inch. Darren, did you want to go into a little bit with software?
Yeah, I can do that. Didn't really specify what type of software. Like I mentioned earlier, we have Adobe Photoshop, Corel Photo Paint, or S3. I guess what I could touch on is Corel, because that's the one that's been around the longest. And we have a phenomenal program with that. So I'll show you Corel Half-Whiz live. We'll see how that goes. And then as far as the best dot per inch, I'll get into that as well. So let me flip the screen here, Michaela. So let's see.
I apologize for any fuzziness on the screen out there to people. I know that we have a lot of people using Wi-Fi at home here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, does this come in now? Does everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Do you see it? Okay.
Yeah, we'll blow this up a little bit bigger, so hopefully people can see that a little better.
Sure. So I'm going to show you, it's a new program called S3. It's a great program for beginners to do halftones, and I'll show you why. So here I found some images ideal for halftones. One is the wedding is great on wine bottles and gifts of that nature. So I'll show you a couple of tricks to do that. And then the other one is the one on the right. That's a picture of my senior. His name is Dominic. He's my senior. And photo of him back as a young child. So I'm going to show how to do S3. So I'm going to pull this up. I go to Transform, Photo Halftone, and Interactive. My output DPI is 300 resolution. So here's the beginners, right? It's already halftone. So I got my image on the right. Look at all the dots, black and white. It's very simple to do this. Now, you're going to want to change it up a little bit. So you go to Dither, and here's your angle and your frequencies. So frequency is what we've been talking about, the size of your dot. So if you're going to go deep into stone or glass to color fill it or to have it last longer outdoors, you want to do a 35. Also, if the image is going to be larger, I usually recommend anything larger than 10 inch by 12 inch. You'd go with the 35 DPI because the person is not going to be up close at that distance because their eyes can't visually see at 10 by 12 from a few inches away. They got to be about 3 to 4 feet away. So that's one reason why you do 35. And then the reason why you go to 55 is if you're doing interior photos. So if it's going in a display case, 5x7 is kind of a natural frame size. So 5x7, I recommend 55. And that's what dots look like at a 55. A lot smaller. So with smaller dots, you need a smaller abrasive media. So the other part is the angle of the dot. So with these, that's your degree. So we talked about the nozzle degree earlier. So if you went 90, all the dots go up and down like a 90-degree angle. Okay, and if you go to 45, then those same dots are now at a 45-degree angle. So that's basically what that means. So people always ask me, well, what dot frequency or angle should I use? Well, that'll vary on every photo. So you will always want to start at 45. That's a default in Corel or S3. Adobe is 37.5. And then if you're going to, I like 57 a lot. Back to the beginner thing. If you do 35 and let's say 90, I know it doesn't look the greatest, but this is actually the easiest to Sandcarve. And the reason is because when I shoot abrasive at this piece, normally people hold it either vertical or horizontal in their hand. So you run their nozzle from left to right, you're going to basically hit it like you're blasting a line. Okay. So it's like blasting a name or a logo. So it's very easy and very successful. So if you're doing a beginner halftone, yeah, 90 or 0 is a good angle. but it doesn't look the greatest. So that's where you'd want to venture off to 45. Okay. So that's S3, very simple. Sometimes you may want to adjust the contrast levels to give it more or less detail. You know, like if I'm doing a piece of black granite, I like to have less detail and more contrast. So something like this would be better for black granite. Then if I'm doing glass, I like to give it more detail. So pretty simple. And S3 is the only software program where you can change your contrast on the fly. So if you go into Adobe or Corel to adjust your levels or contrast, you have to keep going back and forth. So S3 is phenomenal because you can do it right on the fly. So it's a good program to test. We have a 10-day free trial. A lot of customers are taking advantage of that right now with their stay at home. So give it a shot and make sure you email and call with any questions.
It's a great program there, Darren. Believe it or not, shout out to Emulsion Guru here that's joining us. For those of you that don't know who that is, that's Kevin Cowith. That's our Chromaline Midwest technical rep. So he's in that screen printing division of Iconics Corporation here. He wanted to ask, what's the weirdest non-traditional item you have successfully blasted?
Wow. Just so you know, these questions are brought up right now, not rehearsed by any means. So the weirdest non-traditional item I've successfully sandblasted. I've done a lot of schools over the years, and when I taught schools, and I still do, I'd always mention to everybody coming would be bring something that you want to sand carve personally, because we're in a personalized market, right? So with that, people would bring in all kinds of crazy stuff. I can't really narrow down to one item, but I'll give you a couple. One is probably a gourd. It's a vegetable. A guy in Pennsylvania brought one in for a school, and we sand carved a gourd, which is hard and, brittle, obviously. And we actually had success. We did a halftone on it too. We color filled it black because the gourd is kind of a lighter color. So I would say that. I'd say some of the funner things that I've done too are like blue jeans. I had a spare denim jeans at a trade show once, and somebody didn't believe me that you could do blue jeans. So I took my blue jeans out of my luggage, put a halftone on there and sandblasted it. So things like that, I think, just kind of stick out in my mind of going the extra mile to show people all the capabilities of sand carving. I think probably the most challenging item would be probably a Don Perignon wine bottle. It's a $2,000 wine bottle that was given to me once, and the customer was too afraid to do any etching on it. So I put a halftone and a wedding announcement on the bottle. So that was probably the most challenging and most nerve-wracking, because if you make a mistake, obviously, you're out $2,000. So yeah, those are a couple things. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because there's some fun things and some things outside the box that have been fun over the years. I'm sure there's a lot of our reps at Iconics, like Andy and Mike and even Peter, have some good experience on fun items and interesting items over the years.
Yeah, that makes me think of the Will It Blast session when Peter and Amber, they sand carved a pumpkin. So
right.
you can literally sand carve just about anything out there.
Yeah, you carve pumpkins, right? You sand carve pumpkins. So
right.
Yeah, anything hard, anything brittle. I would say, and this is actually a true story. One of my classes many, many years ago, I had a guy that took my idea too far. I told him anything hard and brittle, anything I could break, you can sand carve. So the guy puts ice cubes. He was doing some kind of sculpture project. He put ice cubes in his machine. They carved beautifully, but what he didn't recall was what ice cubes turn into afterwards, right? The part you remove from an ice cube is ice, but it turns to water. He didn't think that far ahead, so that was a little challenging because the abrasive got a little wet. So that's one of the items over the years where I recommend not doing is anything that's water based, like an ice cube.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right. Well, Doctor, it looks like there's a few more questions here. This next one is, can you use a laser mask with a laser to create a halftone and then sandblast? I think we covered this one a little bit, but if you just want to recap there.
Yeah, we're actually doing a video with Trotec Laser on Friday, May 1st. It's going to be on putting blazer orange laser mask on glass. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, absolutely. You can put blazer orange or even our green laser tape on glass or any brittle surface. Once again, use your laser software to create the halftone. Now, when you're doing halftones again with the sandblasting purpose, make sure there's 65 DPI or coarser. So, and the DPI level is going to depend on what your abrasive size is. So we do recommend a 220 grit abrasive. So you can do 35, 45, 55, 65 DPI. Now, so yeah, stick to those DPI levels in your laser program, and you're going to burn away these little dots in your mask. And then you're going to sand carve it later to give it depth, to give it longevity, and a better color fill.
Great idea. I did see one more question, and let's see. Somebody messaged in. Can a monk? I don't even know if I want to ask this one. It's can a monkey etch a football?
Well,
I feel like there's a story behind this.
I have a feeling where that one came from. Well, let me tell you this. In my classes, I do say that even a monkey can do our process because you just have to have somebody turn the dial on electrolyte. So yeah, a monkey can do the dry film rapid mask. And yes, you can sand carve a football because it is leather. So you can sand carve leather. So can a monkey sand carve a football? That's very interesting. I'm sure there's some pictures or drawings out there that people can share. But I don't know. Let's find out. Maybe it'll be on the next episode of Wednesday.
Yeah, we got to find ourselves a monkey first.
Yeah. Maybe some of our customers overseas. Anyway, we don't have any monkeys in Minnesota. Too cold.
It looks like Deborah Peel has a question for you.
Oh, Deborah.
She says, "Hi, if you sand carve a halftone on a wine bottle, do you add paint fill?"
Great question, Deborah. Depends on the color of the wine bottle. Like your Merlot bottles are normally dark, like a black. So when you etch that with your abrasive, it kind of comes out gray or sometimes white, depending on how deep you carve. The deeper you carve into glass, the more white the image becomes. So again, that's what we were talking about earlier, is the 35 dot or 45 dot will allow you to go deeper, so you get more color without color fill. So if it's a green bottle or a clear bottle, I do recommend putting a paint in there to highlight it better. I'll be honest, so a lot of our customers will use rub and buff on wine bottles because the wine bottles are not going outside. They're going in a display case. They're going in a kitchen cabinet, right on a mantle, on a fireplace. So it's not going to be near any water, anything that might remove the paint. So it comes down just like anything. Is if you're doing light bottles, maybe use a rub and buff or any kind of highlight paint. It could be any kind of paint now. But it's the image. I guess the other analogy there is if you're doing professional, what I mean by professional is corporate, maybe big time, where they're paying top dollar, and you want the best possible color fill on a wine bottle. In that case, the paint I recommend is called One Shot. It's numeral 1 and then shot.com. And that's oil-based enamel that basically brushes into your etched area, one coat application, and it's 100% opaque. So that means you can actually put, if you did a multicolor application on a bottle, you can actually put white paint over black, which is a big mistake in home use, because if you put white over black, it bleeds, turns gray. So, but with one shot, you can actually put any color over any color if you do multicolor. So oneshot.com is the best paint for wine bottles. I guess it comes down to what your customer is paying and what kind of bottle it is, right? If it's Dom Perignon, like I did earlier for a customer, in that case, I would use a one shot and give it the best performance possible so I get more orders down the road, right? That's the main key. If you do a good job, they're coming back.
Great. We got another question here that somebody emailed in. We covered this a little bit, but maybe you just want to repeat this for anyone that's watching out there now. What is the best grit size for halftones?
The best grit size for halftones is 220. But in the video that we did previously on black granite, I actually used a 180. And that's why I did a 35 DPI. And that's why we did a little bit deeper edge. But 220 is generally the best abrasive that you want to use for halftones. The reason for that is the grit size is the same size or smaller, if this helps, than your actual dot size in your artwork. So I have some illustrations on my computer that I could share that show a dot size in abrasive compared to a dot size in a halftone. And so if the dot's smaller in your abrasive, it's just going to clean out the area quicker. So the smaller the grit, the faster your etch for halftones.
All right, great. Well, thanks, Doctor. It looks like the comments and questions are kind of winding down here. Unless you want to add anything else, I guess I just wanted to mention a little bit more about some upcoming events. You got anything, FineGrit?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information out there I could share. I think halftones is probably the #1 category because there's the software side of things. I love to share more information on Corel or Adobe tricks. So if anybody has specific questions on that, personal email or text me or give me a call. I do have my phone on, so even though I'm home in my basement on my pool table. So yeah, any software, but film questions as well. So we talked about wrap mask today, but there's the washout film that we offer and the laser films. So I'd love to get more into detail on any challenges that you may have on your end to make it work, because we can get all 3 of our film processes to work, whether it's halftones or deep carving or stone etching. Any of our films, any of our processes will work. It's just getting all the tips and tricks ahead of time so you're not having to do all the R&D on your end. We've already done it. So we've done the R&D. So give us a call and we'll be able to give you all that information right off the bat so you're not having to retrace your steps and recut, redo things. So knowledge is power, and just keep coming in with those questions. That's all I can say, right? Just, we're here. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in the basement.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Doctor. For everyone out there watching, just a little sneak peek at what Iconics has going on over the next few weeks. Next Wisdom Wednesday, Darren will be showing deep carve on a slate coaster. Following that, the next week we'll do some stage carving, some up close stage carving that you can see, and then finally for towards the end of May, we're going to do a maintenance video about our Crystal Blast sand carvers. So I know a lot of you have been asking about that. Feel free to join, subscribe, so that you can get that notification when our videos are going live. Because if you're on here live and you've got a problem at home or at your workshop with your Crystal Blast, or need a little help, get on here, ask your questions, and get them answered right away, so we can tell you. Other than that, like Dr. FineGrit mentioned, Trotec and Iconics are joining forces this Friday. So if you haven't registered already, go check out our website, or Trotec's, but check out iconicsimaging.com. It'll take you to that registration link so you can get signed up. It's a Blazer laser carve workshop. So you'll get to work online here with us and see how we used our Blazer orange mask to stage carve glass. So that'll be Dr. FineGrit and David Stevens from Trotec. Both of them are great guys, a great team. Then every week here, I'm trying to get some digital trade shows out from our channels here. Just Iconics Imaging, doing trade shows right out of my garage. So it's kind of interesting. Hoping that Grizzly Adams is going to join me in this next segment here. So you'll see who Grizzly Adams is. And then last but not least, we are participating in the NBM show breakaway session number 1. So that's taking place May 20th. So I strongly suggest to check that out. It'll be fun. It'll be great. So other than that, we're really happy you joined us today. Thank you for all the questions and the participation. Keep watching, keep asking questions. We're here to help you during this time. So thanks for your support. So
All right. I just got one more thing to add.
Go ahead. Have a blast.
Have a blast, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Darren, what day is it? What day is it? You gonna say it?
Hey, whoop, whoop.
Hump day.
Hump.
All right.
Okay. Halftone day. Halftone day.
All right. We'll see you guys all next
everyone. We'll see
Wednesday.
you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.